Birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Trey. Happy birthday to you. It's my baby's birthday today. Yay! He's 11. That's crazy to me. Just yesterday, it feels like I walked into this small little hospital in Salt Lake City and expected to have to walk down a long hall to get to the nursery, but no, it was right around the corner. And I looked in and I saw this baby filled with black hair. And I'm like, that's him. That's my baby. And he ended up being my baby, Trey. And that was 11 years ago. Oh my goodness. It's crazy. He's at sleepaway camp right now, overnight camp. And so I don't get to celebrate with him in person. So I had to sing here and celebrate with all of you. But I did get to talk to him just like 10 minutes ago. I got off the phone with him. So he's having a great time. He sounded like a little man already. And last time I talked to him on the phone, he sounded like a baby. It's so weird to talk to your kids on the phone, but this time he did not. He was very articulate. Anyways, all right. So happy birthday to my baby, Trey. Today, first of all, I wanted to talk about thank you, my adoption coach. My cheeks hurt from smiling. If you're with me, give me a win. Do you have a win from the week? My son turns 11 today, so that's my win. I made it. I made it 11 years so far as a single mama. What's a win for you? Let's see. We've had some matches this week, so that's great. We also have some families who have had double fall throughs, which sucks. What's interesting, though, is the conversation that we had in our weekly email that was sent out today about the word failed adoption. And just to kind of sum it up, how can we call something a failed adoption when a woman decides to parent her child, right? There's no failure about that. So I was thinking about that. And I think I heard someone say to me once, or the gist of it was, and it makes sense to me, when you accept a match, right? An adoption match, when an expectant mom chooses you and is thinking about making an adoption plan or is making an adoption plan, what you're really saying is, I am agreeing to go on this journey with you as you are thinking about and considering making an adoption plan for your baby, knowing that you may or may not. And if you do, I am agreeing to be there for you to step in. And if you don't, I was happy to support you through your pregnancy and for what you needed to get to this point. That's basically what you're doing when you agree to a match. So we talk more about it in the email that we sent out today. So if you want to get on that list, let me know. Speaking of disrupted adoptions, or what we call fall throughs, one of the warning signs is that, well, a couple warning signs, is that maybe an agency or you, if you've been in direct contact, stops hearing from the expectant mama. Maybe she's not returning calls or not texting as much. Maybe she's not reaching out to the agency as much as she used to. Or maybe she's had appointments and she's not going, and either she's just not showing up or she has a lot of excuses. Now, Some of that does happen, things come up. But if you start to see a lot of that, that's typically a red flag. And it's hard because at that point, you're typically invested already, either financially and especially emotionally. And depending on when she's due, you have to make a judgment call on if you want to continue to keep supporting her moving forward, or if you want to back out. Hello, everybody who just joined me. Hello. I asked for a win today, and we were talking a little bit about this notion of failed adoption versus a fall through, or just being on board to help support an expectant mother through this journey during their pregnancy as they are considering adoption placement for their child. Okay, so that's one thing. Another thing that came up. So when my baby, I adopted a Hispanic boy. He's Mexican. And when he was born, he had what I thought was a birthmark on his tush. And it looks like a bruise. And I didn't know what it was until one day. I guess you could see the back of it. Maybe he was wearing a shirt. I don't know. It was in the summer. And somebody randomly in the public said, "Oh, did you know that's called a Mongolian spot?" And I thought, no, I didn't know that. And what is that? Is that, just something Hispanic children get? Turns out it's not. Although most Hispanic children do have it. So it's called, this is something you should know if you adopt Asian, Hispanic, or African. The technical term is called congenital dermal melanocytosis. Congenital dermal, meaning skin, melanocytosis, more commonly known as Mongolian spots or Mongolian blue spots. And it's a kind of birthmark commonly found in newborns, also known by the name slate gray nevus. Mongolian blue spots often appear right after birth or in the first few weeks of life. They're harmless. You don't need to remove them. In fact, typically they go away between the ages of 3 to 5. And for my son, it did. And it's typically found on the butt, the back, the shoulders, and the base of the spine down here. It says, because these marks are on the buttocks more than any other part of the body, Mongolian blue spots are sometimes called blue butt. The name came about because the spots were most commonly found in children of Mongolian or other Asian ancestries, and it's most common in, let's see here, what did they say? It's most common in Asian. Okay, it says on average, only about 10% of Caucasian infants have Mongolian blue spots. Blue spots are found in about 50% of Latinos and 90 to 100% of Asian and African populations. So there you have it. In case you have a baby of those descents and you see what looks like a bruise on their butts, it's called blue butt. It's normal. So there's that. I wanted to bring something up that I see all the time. So warning, warning, warning. Don't compare yourself. And stop asking everybody else who they used as your guide to who you should use as far as agencies. Unless you know that everything they are looking for, or they were looking for, is the same thing that you are looking for, that they are the same race as you, that they are adopting at the same time as you or right around the same time. Unless you are comparing apples to apples, it is really not a good idea to be asking other people, how long did it take for you to adopt? Or, whether or not a certain agency is, who they used as an adoption agency as a guide for you, or as a basis for you to say, okay, well, that's who they use, so I'm going to use it too. It's just a bad idea. And I'll tell you why. Number one, laws and rules and the way everybody works changes depending on what state you're in, what state that agency's in. One place may be good if you are open to everything, but awful if you're not. One place may be great if you are Hispanic, but not so great if you are white. Typically, what people's criteria are as far as what they are looking for in adoption, that's probably something that they're not going to fully share with you. Because typically that's pretty private information for them, and it's uncomfortable for them to, for people to talk about. So unless it's just not a good idea. Don't compare. Everybody's on their own journey. You don't know what somebody's been through. You don't know what their profile book looks like, if they got it done by the same person you did. There's just so many factors that it gets a little dangerous to compare and then to go by what your friends said, unless they are professionals, unless they do this all the time. So, I mean, we are constantly checking on statistics, what's happening, what staff is still there, are our clients having a good experience or not a good experience? Who is this agency better for than that agency? So there's just a lot to consider, which is why working with a consultant can be a really great decision, because we know what might be good for you, which might look different than what your best friend did. Just really be careful. And if you are going to ask somebody, I mean, it's a great place to start, but then you have to make your own decision based on really smart questions to ask. Does that make sense to you guys? Happy Friday, Gina here. I hope that makes sense to you. And that's really all I have to say today. So don't compare, stay in your own lane. There's way too much to consider. Use a consultant. We would love to work with you. Oh, another thing, I knew there was something else I wanted to mention. So today was our virtual Playdate. If you've been following me for a while, you've heard me mention this before, where every couple months we come and do a virtual Playdate with all of our families who have recently adopted, and we do it over Zoom. And everybody shares their stories and talks about, their aha moments and what they were surprised about. And every single time we get at least one person who says that it was so much more about the community that they were part of now than they ever thought it would be. And how your friends and family, while supportive and loving, don't get it. Especially as it comes to open adoption. So a couple of things that came out of it was one, community. Two, this one happened to be more husband and wife teams than we've had in a while. So the men were present and participating as well. One guy said, I think my biggest aha was just how important the profile is, and not to skimp when it comes to your profile. And then a lot of other people chimed in and said, yes, it turns out we were chosen, that the profile really did make a difference. And that the person that we used did a really great job, and they knew what they were doing. And so somebody said, just talked about the importance of the profile, and we are so on top of people about the profile. And it's one of those areas within the process that gets so frustrating for people, especially when we're saying, these pictures are too pixelated. We need more of just you. You should go take a professional shoot, which you may or may not have to do. But if you don't have enough of the right pictures, that's what we are going to suggest. And people sometimes get really frustrated, but you do not want to skimp when it comes to your profile. You really want to take to heart what the professionals are telling you and just go all out and do it. Because you, as this guy said, you don't get an opportunity in most cases to have a conversation with an expectant mom to tell her about you. This is the only thing that she will see to learn about you before she matches with you. So you want it to be the best foot forward and to really represent who you are. So that was brought up. Another thing that was brought up, which was really interesting, was somebody whose sister was adopted. But she was adopted internationally and had no connection with, it was a closed adoption, which most international are. And that was her only experience of adoption. And she had asked her sister, aren't you curious? Don't you want to meet your birth mom? And she said, no, she didn't want to. And so originally they thought they would adopt internationally. And that was one of their reasons, because they were really fearful and scared of open adoption. But it turns out they couldn't go the route that they originally thought. And so they decided they were going to go the infant adoption domestic route. And because they knew it was mostly open adoption, the wife said, but we're not doing this alone. This whole thing really scares me. I don't know how I feel about open adoption, so I need guidance and support. And I was just so grateful for how vulnerable she was to share that, because I felt the same way. And what I shared is not only was I scared of it, but my family is still nervous about it, right? They don't quite get it. They've come around a lot. But there's a lot of learning. And she said what was beautiful in the end was that we got to meet, and they have such a beautiful relationship. And she got to be in the room during the birth. And I said to her, that's not a story you would have ever been able to tell your child if you adopted internationally. So it was a beautiful, I just love doing these because everybody has their own stories and everyone has their own place from where they are coming from. Another thing we did this week was we had a call. We were supposed to have a call with an in-house therapist. She happened to have an emergency, so it was just me. But we talked a lot about bouncing back after fall throughs, or not being happy with the way the profile was going, and whatever it was. We have a family who recently had a couple fall throughs too. And it's awful. I mean, I can count, prior to this month, I could have counted on one hand how many times. I mean, I think 3 in 9 years, people have had 2 fall throughs. And this month has been crazy. We've had a couple. But this woman, client of ours, has been so beautiful. Her heart has just shined through. She was not angry. She thought it was a beautiful thing, and she really supported the birth mom's decision. And yet it's hard. It's hard to then bounce back and trust again. But I got a call from the agency she was working with to say, hey, I want to make sure you know. And these people were so beautiful to work with. We just know that they're going to get a baby born situation. We're going to do everything we can. I'm telling you this story because it would have been so easy for them to get angry and to point fingers and to get nasty and to say, you didn't do this right and you guided me wrong and how did you miss this and the agency didn't disclose that. Whatever it is, whether they were legitimate complaints or not, but they didn't. And as a result, the agencies that they have worked with really want to bend over backwards for them. And their experience is just going to be that much richer because they can continue to go through it while acknowledging how hurt and nervous and scared they are. They have immersed themselves in a community of supportive people, and they have people that want to continue doing everything that we all can to help, you know, have them have a successful adoption journey. There are a lot of places throughout this journey where it would be really easy to get pissed off and angry and wanting to point fingers, and things don't go exactly the way you wanted them to go. And so you think that these people don't know what they're doing, and those people, we see it all the time. We see it all the time. And it's really hard to want to pick up the phone to strategize, to say, okay, what else can we do? How else can we help you? Let's do this. It's really difficult when we're not sure what we're going to get on the other side of the phone. And agencies feel that too. And that is the last thing you want to happen. Also, you don't want to go into a situation where you're about to become a parent with all this pent up anger and bad juju, for lack of a better term. So, however hard it is, if you're feeling that, acknowledge it and get the help that you need from adoption competent therapists who understand, to help you work through your triggers. Because you have to it's so important for us to get a handle on our triggers and our fears now, because they are only going to intensify when you become parents. Trust me, I speak from experience. And I've seen it happen over and over again. So catch yourself and take a step back when you see yourself going down a road of negativity, to say, is this who I really am? And is this how I want to show up and walk into parenthood being? Is this the person I want to be? Hopefully the answer is no, that you want to be this loving, beautiful, open-hearted, open-minded person, because after all, you did choose adoption. That might not have been your first choice, but you chose it. And it's complicated and it's layered, and we have to be true and honest to ourselves without pushing blame to other people, because that's not helpful. You guys have a beautiful, beautiful weekend. Enjoy. Be your loving, beautiful selves. Find the good in people and the things around you. Celebrate your wins, whether they are big or small. And just keep holding on to hope and walking through one step at a time, getting the support you need and surrounding yourself with beautiful, loving people who get it. Have a great weekend. Bye.